You are going about your day. Nothing feels out of the ordinary. You think about the next errand, the next conversation, the next show you want to watch. You don't see anything coming. Then it hits. Out of nowhere, your body locks into panic. There is no fire, no attacker, no car swerving into your lane. Nothing has changed on the outside. Everything has changed on the inside. You blink, and suddenly you know something is wrong. You didn't see it build. You didn't see the trigger. One breath was normal, and the next is not. You don't understand it. You look up. You scan the room. You check every door, every person, every shadow. There is no threat, no reason for this. But your body does not care. It has already sounded the alarm. The alarm does not whisper. It screams. It floods your system with adrenaline before your brain can even ask why. And now, every nerve in your body is firing at once. You can feel every small shift, every tiny twitch, every beat. And one thought pushes past all the noise, sharp and unshakable. Something is very wrong. Your heart kicks into a gallop before you can process what's happening. It pounds against your ribs so hard you can count each beat through your skin, one after another. No slow down, no pause. You try to drag air in through your mouth, but it never reaches your lungs. It sits thick and useless in your throat, and you pull again, harder, desperate for more. Still nothing. Your hands start to shake first at your fingertips. The tremor spreads up your palms, then up your wrists. You curl your fingers into tight fists to hide it, to force it to stop. The tremor runs past your knuckles, up your forearms, and settles deep in your shoulders. It won't go away. You can't make it stop. Your chest tightens next. A heavy, invisible band wraps around your sternum, and it keeps squeezing. Not hard enough to cut off the breath completely, just hard enough to remind you it's there. It gets tighter with every beat of your heart. You try to stretch your shoulders, to loosen the knot. The band only squeezes harder. The tightness doesn't fade. It doesn't let up. It stays there, constant and unforgiving, pressing down on every breath you take. The thought that woke in your mind grows, expands, fills every empty space. It pushes out every other thought. It drowns out the noise of the room around you. Nothing else matters now. Nothing exists except the pounding, the tightness, the shaking, the lack of air. And the thought screams louder with every new sensation. Something is very wrong. Something is very wrong. Something is very wrong. You spin your head, scanning every inch of the space around you. Your eyes jump from wall to door, from person to person, from shadow to corner. You search for the thing that triggered the alarm. The thing that is hurting you, the danger that must be right in front of you. You find nothing. No fire licking at the walls. No threat lunging toward you. Nothing chasing you. No one coming to hurt you. Everything around you looks exactly the way it did 5 minutes ago. The people around you keep talking, keep typing, keep moving like the world is still normal. But you don't feel normal. Even with no visible threat, even with everything looking fine, you still feel like you are seconds away from losing control. You don't scream. You don't collapse. Not always. Most of the time, you don't let anyone see. You know if you show it, no one will understand. They will tell you to calm down. They will say you are overreacting. They will ask what is wrong, and you can't explain it. So you hide it. You force your shoulders to drop. You loosen your hands when someone looks your way. You smile when someone speaks to you, and your voice comes out steady when you answer. You say, "I'm fine," when they ask how you are. On the outside, you look completely calm. Inside, you are already breaking apart. Every part of you is screaming to run, to escape, to get out before the worst happens. But you don't move. You hold it in. You survive the only way you know how, in silence, hidden from everyone around you. This is how it always starts. It does not creep in slowly. It does not build over hours, giving you time to prepare. It hits out of nowhere, fast enough that you barely have time to understand what is happening. 1 minute, you are completely normal. You are thinking about your grocery list, about the meeting next week, about the show you want to watch tonight. You are walking down the street, the sun warm on your face, your steps steady. You are working at your desk, typing out an email, your mind focused on the task in front of you. You are sitting on your couch at home, drinking tea, watching a commercial break. You are driving to the store, singing along to a song on the radio. You are sitting across from a friend, laughing over coffee, talking about nothing important. And then, in the space of one breath, something changes. At first, it is something tiny, so small you almost miss it. It doesn't hurt enough to call it pain. It's just wrong, just off, just different from how you felt 1 minute before. And your mind latches onto it. It can't let it go. It starts to ask the question that starts everything. What if that means something bad? That question is all it takes. One small, looping thought, and your mind interprets the harmless sensation as immediate danger. It does not stop to check. It does not wait for proof. It hits the alarm button and the entire system lights up. Within seconds, every part of your body shifts into fight or flight mode. You cannot stop it. You cannot turn it down. It happens before your conscious mind can even catch up. Your heart rate spikes. It jumps from a resting 70 beats per minute to 150 beats per minute in less than 60 seconds. You can feel it hammering against your ribs, hard enough that the pulse throbs in your temples. Your breathing speeds up to match. You pull in short, shallow huffs of air that never reach the bottom of your lungs. No matter how fast you breathe, you still can't get enough. Every muscle in your body tightens. Every fiber from the base of your neck down to the calves of your legs knots up tight, ready to run, ready to fight, ready to survive whatever is coming. Your attention narrows to a pinprick. You zero in on every single odd feeling in your body. You filter out every conversation, every background noise, every other thing that was on your mind 5 seconds ago. All that matters now is the threat. All that matters now is surviving. Your body is doing exactly what it is supposed to do when danger is near. It is preparing you to get out alive. The only problem is, there is nothing to escape from. The danger is not real. It is only a misreading of a harmless sensation. But your body does not know that. It only knows the alarm has been sounded, and it is already acting like your life depends on it. You know, on some level, that there is no threat. You tell yourself to calm down. You tell yourself to just breathe. You try to force a deep breath, slow and deliberate, to push past the tightness in your chest and fill your lungs the way you're supposed to. But it doesn't work. It makes everything worse. The heavy band wrapped around your sternum only squeezes tighter when you force air in. The pressure builds, and now you can feel it pushing against every nerve in your upper body. You notice the tightness more. The more you notice it, the more scared you become that it will never loosen. The more scared you become, the more your nervous system cranks up the alarm. The more the alarm cranks up, the more new symptoms pop up to catch your attention. One new thud in your chest, one new tingle in your hand, one new wave of dizziness, and it feeds the fear all over again. You can't stop looking for the next problem. You can't stop checking how your heart beats, how your lungs fill, how your muscles feel. Every check finds something new to fixate on. Every fixated thought sends the alarm higher. Every higher alarm creates more sensations that feel wrong. Every wrong sensation pulls your attention back, and the loop tightens another turn. Your heart races so hard you can feel it with every step, every breath, every turn of your head. And instead of thinking the alarm is just stuck, your brain jumps straight to the worst possible conclusion. This is not normal. This is not a false alarm. Something is really wrong. You press your palm flat to your chest, right over the frantic pounding, and wait for the beat to skip, for it to just stop. You convince yourself it will explode right through your ribs. This is a heart attack. This is the one that will kill you right here, right now. You feel the dizziness roll over you next, the room tilting just enough that you have to grab for the nearest solid surface to stay upright. You lock your fingers around the edge of the table, knuckles white, and you think you are going to faint. You are going to crumple to the floor in front of everyone, and no one will know what to do. You can't get enough air into your lungs, no matter how hard you huff and gasp. The tightness sits heavy in your chest, and you think you are suffocating. You suck in one shallow breath after another, and you wonder if this is the last one you will ever take. Everything around you feels strange, like you are watching it through a thick sheet of fog. You can't remember the last thing you said, can't remember why you walked into this room in the first place. You can't pull a single clear thought together, and you think you are losing your mind. This is it. You are going to crack apart right here, and you will never put the pieces back together again. Everything you feel in this moment is real. Every sharp, stabbing twinge in your chest, every heavy thud that shakes your ribs when your heart races, every tight, suffocating pressure that wraps around your lungs, every wave of dizziness that makes you grab for something solid to hold on to, every tremor that runs up your arms when you curl your hands into fists to hide it, every thread of panic that knots your muscles from your neck down to your calves, all of it is real. You can feel every single sensation deep in your bones. The sharp stabbing in your chest that makes you gasp is real. That pain doesn't exist just in your head. The all-consuming terror that crawls up your throat and makes your hands shake is real. That fear isn't something you can just turn off with a single thought. The exhaustion that hits you mid-attack, when your body has burned through all its adrenaline fighting a threat that doesn't exist, is real. Everything you are going through right now feels completely, unshakably real. Because it is. Your nervous system fired a full-scale alarm. It flooded your body with stress hormones. It prepared you to fight for your life. All of that happened. It left actual, physical traces you can feel in every part of your body. The only thing that isn't real is the danger. The deadly, life-ending threat your mind constructed out of a few harmless odd sensations. The alarm is real. The symptoms are real. The terror is real. But the danger it's screaming about, it is not there. But knowing that fact, even believing it on some level, almost never calms the panic when you are right in the middle of it. Your mind splits down the middle. Two voices shouting over each other, fighting for control of every cell in your body. One small, quiet part of you tucks itself into the back of your skull, and it whispers. It reminds you that this has happened before. It remembers every other attack you've survived, every other time the fear faded, every other time you walked away okay. It tells you this is just another false alarm. It's just your nervous system stuck on high. The danger isn't real. This will pass. It always passes. That part knows. But that small, quiet voice can't shout loud enough to overpower the other one. The other voice is screaming. It fills every empty space in your head, drowns out every rational thought, pushes past every memory you have of getting through this before. It screams that this time is different. This time is not a false alarm. This time, the alarm is right. This time, the pain really is a heart attack. This time, you really will suffocate. This time, you really will lose your mind and never get it back. This time, it will kill you. There is no arguing with that voice. It doesn't care about logic. It doesn't care about past experiences. It only knows the raw, burning terror in your bones, and it insists this is the end. You are caught between the two, split in half, knowing one thing and feeling another, with no way to pull the two sides back together again. You lift your eyes and look around the room. The people around you go on like nothing is wrong. One laughs at a joke someone just told. One types steadily at their desk, fingers tapping out a familiar rhythm. One sips their coffee, turning the page of a book they're reading. None of them know what is happening inside your skin right now. None of them can hear the screaming in your head. None of them can feel your heart slamming against your ribs, or the tight bands squeezing your lungs shut. So you make a choice. You start tightening every muscle you can, forcing your body to hold still. You unfurl your clenched fists, smooth out your fingers against your thigh, to hide the tremor that won't stop. You roll your shoulders back once, twice, forcing the knots to loosen just enough to look normal. You clear your throat, slow and deliberate, to make sure your voice doesn't shake when you speak. When the person next to you asks if you're okay, you open your mouth. You push the words out through the tightness in your throat. You say, "I'm fine." Your voice comes out steady, even, no tremor, no crack. They nod and turn back to whatever they were doing. They believe you. They don't ask another question. You hold the smile on your face. Keep your posture loose. Keep your breathing shallow enough that no one can see how hard you're working for it. Your cheeks ache from holding the expression in place. Your jaw is clenched so tight you can feel it throbbing behind your ears. On the outside, you look completely calm, completely normal. But inside, every part of you is screaming to get out. Every nerve is firing. Every muscle is knotted. Every thought is screaming danger. While the room goes on around you, it feels like everything is breaking apart. You can't hold the mask forever. The effort of pretending is already draining every last bit of energy you have. Every second you stay, you feel the panic clawing its way out, ready to break through the thin layer of calm you've built. So you reach for whatever coping mechanism you can, whatever will get you through the next minute. For some, that means escaping to the nearest bathroom. You mutter a quick excuse about needing to wash your hands, turn before anyone can ask follow-up questions, and walk as fast as you can without running. You lock the stall door behind you, slide your back down the cold tile, and press a hand over your mouth to muffle the gasps that won't stop. For others, it means leaving the whole place entirely. You don't bother with elaborate explanations. You just grab your bag, mumble that you feel sick, and walk out the door before anyone can stop you. The fresh air hits your face, and for a split second you can breathe a little easier, even if the panic is still screaming. For some, it means reaching out. You fumble your phone out of your pocket, your hands shaking so bad you fumble the passcode 3 times before you unlock the screen. You scroll through your contacts, find the one person you trust, and hit call before you can overthink it. For some, it means freezing. You can't move. You can't speak. You count the seconds one by one, and every second that stretches on pulls a new fear out of the dark corners of your mind. The first one hits quiet, but it sticks. What if this doesn't stop? What if the tightness in my chest never loosens? What if my heart just keeps racing faster and faster until it can't go anymore? You swallow hard, but the thought doesn't go away. It grows, pushing out the quiet voice of reason that tried to tell you this has passed before. Next comes the fear of public shame, sharp and hot against the back of your neck. What if I faint right here, in front of all these people? What if I crumple to the floor and I can't get up, and everyone has to stare, and no one knows what to do for me? What if I lose control, completely? What if the panic breaks through whatever mask I'm holding and I start screaming or sobbing or doing something I can't take back, something everyone will remember? What if I never feel normal again? What if this wave of terror never lifts and I stay stuck in this feeling forever, with my heart pounding and my lungs tight and my hands shaking for the rest of my life? What if something really is wrong with me and I don't get help in time? And this is the moment it all goes wrong. One fear hooks into the next, pulling more out with every beat of your heart. The attack does not only hurt from the physical sensations tearing through your body. It hurts from every terrible what if your mind can conjure, every catastrophic outcome you can imagine before anything has even happened. The longer the panic lasts, the longer the list of fears grows, each one heavier than the last. This level of terror does not stay inside your head. It pushes you to act. Because when every fiber of your body is screaming that you are dying, you do not stop to question it. You reach for help immediately. You grab your phone, fumble to dial for emergency services, and beg for an ambulance. Or you drive yourself to the nearest hospital, hands gripping the steering wheel so tight your knuckles go white, every mile feeling like an eternity. You check your pulse in the rearview mirror between stoplights, and you can barely count the beats fast enough to keep up. When you finally reach the emergency room, you burst through the doors, gasping for air, and tell the triage nurse you are having a heart attack. You are convinced this is the end. You describe the sharp stabbing pain in your chest, the way you can't breathe, the way your heart is racing so hard it feels like it might burst through your ribs. And you are not exaggerating. You are not making this up for attention. Every sensation you describe is exactly what you feel. The pain is sharp enough to make you double over. The terror is real enough to drive you out of your home, out of your office, straight to the people who you think can save your life. The intensity of a panic attack can feel so undeniable, so physically real, that even people who have had them before can end up convinced this time is different. This time, it really is something deadly. Thousands of people every year walk through emergency room doors with this same conviction, their bodies flooded with the same primal need to survive. Because the alarm their body sounded is so loud, it drowns out every other thought. This intense, overwhelming experience is not a sign of weakness. It does not happen because you are broken, or because you are overreacting to nothing. It does not happen because you want attention from the people around you. No one plans for a panic attack. No one welcomes the terror that tears through your body, the shame that follows when you have to leave a room or beg for help. No one chooses to end up in an emergency room, scared half to death, waiting for tests to prove nothing is wrong. This is not a performance. This is not attention-seeking. It is not a character flaw you can just fix by thinking harder. What it is a misfire. Your body's built-in survival system is built to detect danger and sound the alarm when it finds it. That system kept humans alive for thousands of years. It made us run from predators, fight off threats, escape situations that could kill us. But sometimes, that system gets the signal wrong. It sees a shadow that looks like a snake, and it flinches before your brain can process that it's just a stick on the ground. The same thing happens here. There is no fanfare when it starts to end. No sudden click that turns the alarm off all at once. It fades, slow, almost imperceptible at first. You are still bracing for the next wave of symptoms, still waiting for your heart to speed up even more, still convinced the worst is yet to come. Then you notice it. The invisible band that has been squeezing your sternum for what feels like hours loosens just a fraction. It is so small you question if you imagined it. You hold your breath, wait for it to tighten back up, certain this tiny bit of relief is just a trick your mind is playing. But it doesn't tighten. It stays loose, just a little. Another breath comes. It's deeper than the last one. It actually reaches the bottom of your lungs. Instead of stopping short somewhere in your chest, you take another. Another. The air finally feels like enough again. You don't have to drag it in through your mouth, gasping for every scrap you can get. Your heart, which has been galloping so hard you can feel it in every part of your body, starts to slow. It drops 10 beats, then 10 more. The frantic pounding rhythm against your ribs softens, settles back into the steady, quiet thrum you barely notice when you are well. What hits you next is not panic. It is exhaustion. Deep, bone-deep exhaustion that drains every last bit of energy you had left. You feel shaky, unsteady on your feet even when you sit still. Every movement feels heavy, like you're moving through water that's thicker than normal. If you stand up, your legs feel like lead, like they can barely hold your weight. You can't remember what you were doing before the attack started. You look around the room, and for a second you can't place why you're there, what you were working on, who you were talking to. It's like the attack erased the minutes before it, like it took all the space in your brain just to get through it. You are tired in a way that doesn't make sense to anyone who hasn't been through it. It's the tiredness of running a mile at full sprint when you never left the room. It's the tiredness of your whole body being flooded with adrenaline for 20 minutes straight, and now that the adrenaline is gone, there is nothing left to keep you going. You just want to sit down, or lie down, and not move for an hour. But before you can rest, the shame creeps in. It starts small, a quiet voice in the back of your head that won't go away. It asks why you had to react like this, why you let something invisible hit you this hard, when everyone else around you is fine. You ask yourself, what is wrong with you? Why can't you control this? Why you can't just be normal like everyone else? That question hangs in your head, heavy and unforgiving. What is wrong with me? You turn it over and over, and every time you land on the same answer, there must be something broken inside me. Something that doesn't work right. Something that will never work right, no matter how hard you try to fix it. That is the biggest myth panic attacks tell you. That is the lie that makes the pain so much worse than it has to be. Let me say this clearly, right now. A panic attack does not mean you are broken. It does not mean you are weak. It does not mean there is something wrong with you at your core that can never be fixed. What it means is that your body's alarm system activated too strongly. That is all. Think of it like a smoke alarm that goes off when you just burn toast in the kitchen. The alarm is screaming. It is blaring so loud it makes your ears ring. It sends you jumping out of your chair, heart racing, convinced the whole house is on fire. But there is no fire. There is just a little bit of smoke. Nothing that can hurt you. The alarm didn't go off because the alarm itself is broken. It went off because it is tuned too sensitive. It picks up the smallest hint of smoke and reacts like the whole building is going up in flames. That is exactly what happens with a panic attack. Your nervous system has become tuned too sensitive. It picks up the smallest, odd sensation in your body, the smallest flicker of discomfort, and it reacts like you are in mortal danger. The alarm system is working. It just overreacts. It triggers when it doesn't need to trigger. And that overreaction can be worked on. It can be understood. It can be adjusted. You can learn to tune your alarm system back down, so it only screams when there is actually a fire. This is not a permanent flaw that you have to carry for the rest of your life. It is a misalignment. It is a response that got turned up too high after years of stress or trauma or carrying too much weight you never got to unpack. And misalignments can be fixed. You are not broken. You just have an overactive alarm. That is all that is happening. That changes nothing about who you are, or what you are capable of, or how much your life can get better. It is a problem that can be addressed. It is a pattern that can be unlearned. And that means things can get better. They really can. For many people, the hardest work doesn't end when the first attack passes. A new, even more insidious cycle begins right after. It starts with memory. You carry every second of that first attack in your body. You remember how it felt to be trapped in your own skin, how the fear built until it felt like it would swallow you whole. You remember the shame of hiding it, the exhaustion of fighting through it, the terror that you were going to die or lose control. And that memory sticks. It doesn't just fade away when the symptoms do. It leaves a mark on your nervous system. You start to associate that terror with the place where it happened. You can't forget that you collapsed in the supermarket produce aisle. You can't forget that you couldn't breathe in that traffic jam on the highway. You can't forget that you had to hide in the bathroom stall of your open office, with your boss just a few feet away outside the door. So, those places start to feel dangerous. Just thinking about walking back into that supermarket makes your chest tighten a little. Just thinking about sitting in stopped traffic makes your palms sweat before you even turn the key in the ignition. But it doesn't stop at places. It spreads to sensations too. You start to watch every single feeling in your body, looking for the first sign of another attack. If you climb a flight of stairs and your heart beats faster when you reach the top, you don't think it's just exercise. You freeze. You press your hand to your chest and start counting the beats. Your mind screams, "It's starting again! Another attack is coming!" This new fear changes how you move through the world. It starts as protection. You think, if I avoid the places that scare me, if I avoid the situations that set off the panic, I won't have to go through that terror again. That makes sense. That feels like the logical thing to do to keep yourself safe. So you stop going back to the supermarket where the first attack hit you. You take the back roads instead of the highway, even if it adds 20 minutes to every trip. You call in sick to work rather than sit through that big team meeting where you'd have to stay in one place the whole time. You stop going to crowded places altogether, because crowded places make you warm, and warm makes you think of panic. You stop going out alone, because if an attack hits when you're alone, there's no one there to help you. You start turning down invitations to restaurants, to movie theaters, to parties, Because none of them have easy exits you can take if you need to leave fast. You cancel plans last minute, when the anxiety builds up too much to push through. You start mapping every route before you leave the house. You spend 20 minutes checking for all possible exit points before you agree to go anywhere. The second you sit down in a new place, you look for the nearest door. You calculate the distance from your seat to the exit, to the street, to the nearest hospital, before you even order a drink or say hello to the people you're with. Every step of avoidance feels like a win in the moment. It keeps the panic away for today, but the safety doesn't last. The more you avoid, the more dangerous everything outside your small safe zone feels. The more dangerous everything feels, the more your anxiety tightens its grip. It grows stronger, bolder. It demands more avoidance to keep you calm. From the outside, all of this looks very different. No one can see the layers of calculation you go through before you leave the house. No one can feel the low hum of anxiety that sits in your chest the entire time you're out. They only see the choices you make. They only see that you say no to their invitation to dinner. They only see that you cancel plans to meet for coffee at the last minute. They only see that you prefer to stay home instead of coming out with everyone else. And they fill in the gaps with their own explanations. Some think you don't like them anymore. Some think you're just lazy. Some think you're being rude, that you don't want to make time for them. No one asks what's really going on, because why would they? There's nothing visible to ask about. You look fine when you do go out. You smile, you make small talk, you keep your hands steady even when they want to shake. No one can see the war you just fought to get out the door that day. No one knows that you spent 2 hours working yourself up to just get in the car and drive to the restaurant. No one knows that you checked the exit map 3 times before you left the house, that you mapped 2 alternate routes in case traffic gets bad, that you stuffed your phone with the contact information for every person you might be able to call if an attack hits. They don't see that you spend half the dinner glancing at the exit door, that your muscles are tight the entire time, that you're counting your heart rate under the table between bites. They don't see the way you rehearse your excuse for leaving early in your head before you even sit down. They don't see the moment when you almost get up and leave right then, when the anxiety spikes, and you have to talk yourself down for 5 full minutes just to stay seated. All they see is that you left a little earlier than everyone else. All they see is that you said no the next time. The internal work, the terror, the constant vigilance, none of it shows. It stays locked inside you, hidden behind closed doors and forced smiles and polite excuses. No one sees the war, only you do. Most people wait for the fear to disappear on its own. They wait for the panic to go away, for the anxiety to fade, for the world to feel safe again without doing anything different. But waiting doesn't work. The cycle of avoidance and anxiety doesn't break itself. It only gets stronger the longer you feed it. Because avoidance taught your brain that the world outside your safe zone actually is dangerous. It reinforced the lie that every flutter of your heart means another attack is coming. It never gives your brain a chance to learn that most of those feared sensations aren't actually dangerous at all. That's why healing can't look like waiting. It has to look like changing the way you relate to everything you've been running from. It starts with unlearning the lessons avoidance taught you. You learn that a fast heartbeat doesn't always mean you're about to die. Sometimes it just means you walked up a flight of stairs. You learn that dizziness doesn't always mean you're going to collapse. Sometimes it just means you stood up too fast. You learn that feeling nervous doesn't always mean there's real danger. Sometimes it just means you're stepping into something new, something you haven't done in a long time. You learn to stay a little longer in the place that scares you, instead of running the second your anxiety spikes. You learn to breathe through the rising panic, instead of fighting it or forcing it away. You learn to feel the symptoms without grabbing for the nearest exit before they even get a chance to pass. You learn to ask for help instead of hiding your shame behind polite excuses. None of this is easy. It will feel strange and scary at first. It will feel worse before it feels better, sometimes. But it's the only way out of the cycle that kept your world small. It's the first step toward making your world big again. Healing starts with understanding why this happens in the first place. Panic attacks do not come out of nowhere, even when they feel like they do. Often, they are the end result of a long chain of things you left unspoken, things you told yourself didn't matter, things you buried to keep going. Maybe you have carried stacks of unprocessed stress for years. You pushed through every hard day, every overwhelming week, every draining month, because that's what you thought you had to do. Maybe you carry trauma you never talked about with anyone. You locked it away and told yourself you were over it, that it didn't affect you anymore. Maybe you have extreme exhaustion from years of pushing past your limits, of ignoring when your body told you to slow down. Maybe you have buried emotions you told yourself you didn't have time to feel. Anger, grief, fear, regret, all stuffed down into a box you wouldn't open. Maybe all of it mixes together, until the weight becomes too heavy for your mind to hold alone. Sometimes, the body expresses what the mind stayed silent about for too long. It doesn't do this to destroy you. It doesn't do this to break you. It does this to get your attention. It's screaming that something you've been ignoring for too long needs to be looked at. That the load you've been carrying is bigger than you were meant to carry alone. That it's okay to stop pushing, to stop hiding, to stop pretending everything is fine when it's not. This doesn't make the process of healing easier. It doesn't erase the terror you feel in the middle of an attack, but it does change the story. It stops framing panic as an enemy that attacks you for no reason, and starts framing it as a messenger, bringing you a message you needed to hear all along. The message is simple. Something needs attention. Something needs to be seen. Something needs help. Once you understand the message, once you start doing the work of healing, you might expect a straight path. You expect to get better every single day, to leave panic behind for good once and for all, to never feel that old terror again. But that's not how healing works. There are days when you can be having a perfectly good week, even a perfectly good month, and a small flutter in your chest drags you right back to the worst memories of your worst attacks. One small, ordinary sensation can trigger a wave of old fear that knocks you off your feet. You can walk out the door one morning feeling calm and strong, and by noon you're hiding in a bathroom stall, trying to catch your breath like you did when this first started. It feels like all your progress was for nothing. It feels like you moved backward, like you'll never get any better, like you're starting over from zero. But that's not what's happening. Setbacks are not failure. They are not a sign that you're broken beyond repair. They are a normal part of every healing journey. The body and mind don't unlearn old habits in a straight line. They don't delete old fear in one clean sweep. They take 2 steps forward, then 1 step back, then 1 step sideways, then another step forward again. That back step doesn't erase all the progress you made before it. It doesn't mean you can't keep going. It just means you're human. It just means healing takes time. Healing is rarely a straight line from terrible to perfect. You don't go from hiding in your home to living a full, fear-free life in 7 days. There are dips, there are detours, there are days when you have to start over a little bit. And that's okay. That's expected. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. Along that winding path, there are small victories you might not even notice right away. These aren't the big, dramatic moments that anyone else can cheer for. They don't make the news. They don't get posted anywhere. Most of the time, no one even knows they happened but you. But every single one of them moves you forward, even when it doesn't feel like it. Think of the day you decided to go out even though the fear was already rising in your chest before you opened the door. That counts. Think of the day you felt the first flutter of panic, and you didn't run. You didn't grab your keys and rush home. You stayed where you were, and you let the symptoms rise, and you let them pass. And they did pass, just like they had before. That counts. Think of the day you finally stopped hiding what you're going through. You picked up the phone, and you called a friend, or a therapist, and you told them the truth about how bad it gets. You stopped carrying it all alone. That counts. Think of the day you stopped calling yourself weak for what you go through. You stopped asking what's wrong with me, and you started asking what do I need right now. You stopped shaming yourself for needing more time, or more space, or more help. That counts. None of these steps are big. None of them erase all the hard days that came before. But every single one of them counts. More than you will ever know. After all the small steps, after all the setbacks, after all the days you carry this terror alone, it's easy to think you are the only person who feels this way. From the outside, no one can see what's happening inside you. No one sees how long you spend mapping exit routes before you leave the house. No one sees how you freeze and check your pulse when your heart speeds up after climbing a flight of stairs. No one sees how you fight to keep your hands from shaking when you're talking to a friend, or how you plan every outing around the nearest hospital. From the outside, it just looks like you say no to a lot of invitations, or you leave early, or you prefer staying home. So you start to think no one else could possibly understand this. You start to think you're the only one who has ever felt this kind of invisible, unexplainable terror. But that's not true. Millions of people know exactly what this feels like. Millions of people have sat where you're sitting right now. Millions have locked themselves in bathroom stalls to catch their breath. Millions have canceled plans last minute because the anxiety got too strong. Millions have driven themselves to the emergency room convinced they were dying, only to be told it was a panic attack. Millions have carried the same fear of the next attack, the same shame, the same exhaustion of living on high alert. Most of them don't talk about it. Most of them hide it, just like you might hide it. That's why it feels like you're alone. But you aren't. Millions have walked this exact same path, and millions of them have found a way through it too. Knowing you aren't alone helps, but it doesn't erase all the shame you might have carried for years. It doesn't erase all the times you called yourself dramatic for feeling this much terror. It doesn't erase the times you called yourself weak for letting something invisible hit you this hard. It doesn't erase the times you thought you were a burden to the people who love you, because you need more patience, more space, more understanding than they expected. Too many people treat panic as if it's a choice. They say you're overreacting. They tell you to just calm down. They act like it's something you can turn off with a single decision if you just wanted it enough. So you start to believe them. You start to believe there's something fundamentally broken inside you. You start to hide what you feel, even from the people who care about you, because you don't want to be too much. You don't want to be a hassle. You don't want to bother anyone with your problems that they can't even see. But that narrative is a lie. You are not a burden for needing support. You are not dramatic for feeling this intensity. You are not broken for having an overactive alarm system. You are not strange for reacting this way. You are a person moving through an overwhelmed nervous system. That is all. That deserves compassion, not shame. It deserves patience, first and foremost from you. You don't have to earn kindness. You don't have to be better before you deserve to treat yourself gently. You deserve it right now, exactly where you are. Maybe today you are still in the middle of this fight. Maybe you are only beginning to understand what is happening to your body and your mind. Maybe you are tired of battling a response that you didn't ask for, that you can't always control. Maybe you are still carrying the weight of your worst panic attack, the one that left you broken, the one that made you think you could never recover. Wherever you are right now, this one thing is true. Your story does not end in that worst moment. It does not end with the panic attack that sent you to the emergency room. It does not end with the time you ran out of a grocery store in the middle of shopping, leaving your cart full of food by the door. It does not end with the time you cried alone in a locked bathroom stall, too afraid to come out where people could see you shaking. It does not end with the day you canceled a big important event because the anxiety got too strong to push through. You are not defined by the time you ran away. You are not defined by the day you thought you could not take another second of this terror. You are not defined by the moment you lost control, or the moment you hid, or the moment you thought you would never feel normal again. You are also defined by the moments that came after. You are defined by the time you got up and tried again, even after the last attack left you exhausted. You are defined by the time you walked out the door again, even when every part of you begged you to stay home. You are defined by the time you asked for help, when you had always thought you had to handle this alone. You are defined by the time you breathed through the panic, instead of running from it, even when it hurt. That is also who you are. That is the part of your story that gets to shape what comes next. Healing is not a straight line you walk from broken to fixed in one go. You do not have to erase every panic attack from your past, or never feel fear again, to be well. Your body can learn to recognize safety again. It can unlearn the habit of sounding the alarm when there is no real danger. It can learn to regulate itself again, with time, with practice, and with the right support. All of this is possible. It does not have to happen today. It does not have to happen in a month, or even a year. Progress does not require perfection. You do not need to become a completely different person to feel better. You only need to take one small step at a time. You only need to take one more breath, right now. Not to force yourself to calm down. Not to fight every sensation that scares you. Only to remind yourself that this moment can pass. It has passed before, when you thought it would never end. It will pass again. If you are sitting in the middle of a panic attack right now, reading these words while your heart races and your chest tightens, remember this. Fear can fill your whole world. It can shake every muscle in your body. It can make you believe it will never stop. It can drown out every other thought in your mind with one single scream of danger. But even in that chaos, you are still here. You are still holding on. You are still reading these words, still breathing, still staying present when every part of you wants to run. That is strength. You do not have to fight harder than you already are. You do not have to fix it all in this moment. All you have to do is hold on. All you have to do is wait one more minute. This moment will pass. You will get through this. There is a life beyond constant fear, and you can get there. One small breath, one small step, one brave choice at a time.